Revenge with Karen. The fluorescent lights were already flickering like they knew what was coming. Linda stepped into the office at 6:45 a.m., same as she had every Monday for the last 30 years, rain, shine, or divorce decree. The coffee machine sputtered like it resented her, but she got her bitter cup of diesel anyway, took a sip, and sighed. The office was quiet, eerie kind of corporate silence before the MBA hyenas showed up with their Slack emojis and pivot strategy bullshit. She sat at her desk, third cubicle from the copier, 2 paces from the fire extinguisher she once used to put out Steve's lunch bag in 03, and opened the onboarding spreadsheet. Another analyst started today. Number 10, this quarter. Poor kid didn't know a purchase order from a hole in the drywall. Linda smoothed her cardigan, adjusted her glasses, and got to work revising the welcome packet. She didn't cut corners. Never had. The benefits page had the updated dental clause, the payroll schedule was synced with the fiscal calendar, and the floor map didn't lie like it did last year when they put HR in a room labeled Storage B. That's when she did it. With the same calm, collected movement she'd used to adjust thermostats, settle conflicts, keep the department afloat through 5 CFOs and 2 floods, Linda plugged in a nondescript little flash drive. Matte gray, no label. She copied over the final version of the SOP, Standard Operating Procedure for Accounts Intake, but this one had something extra. Buried 3 clicks deep, inside a harmless-looking hyperlink labeled Ref4B Vendor Addendum, was a worm. Not a virus, no. Linda wasn't malicious. She was surgical. That link rerouted vendor verifications to legal, not finance, and triggered a bounce if the timestamp didn't match a quietly updated master list. One misplaced click from Amanda's shiny new team, and the whole procurement chain would grind like a tractor in a hailstorm. And if you're enjoying this already and haven't hit that subscribe button yet, come on. 97% of y'all keep eavesdropping without committing. One click and a like tells our little ghostwriting crew someone's listening. Otherwise, we're just yelling revenge poetry into the void. Linda saved the folder with a sweet little name. Onboarding 2025 Final 2 Real Final. No one would dare open it unless their soul had already left their body. She gave it a test run, clicked through the doc, watched the redirect do its thing, and smiled just enough to make the office plant nervous. 8:15, she was training the new kid, Tyler or Taylor or whatever, on how to navigate the intranet portal without accidentally ordering toner for the entire East Coast region. She answered his questions patiently, the way she always did, sipping her coffee between lessons like it was morphine. She could feel it already, though. The atmosphere was changing. A tension in the carpet glue. A faint scent of strawberry vape juice in the air vents. A disturbance in the force. Right before lunch, the printer stuttered out a memo. The kind printed on high-gloss stock with the company logo, just slightly too large, signaling doom with every pixel. Organizational Reset Initiative. Linda didn't need to read it to know. She tucked the flash drive into her purse behind a wrapped butterscotch candy, looked out the window at the dumpster out back, and whispered, "So it begins." The next morning, Amanda arrived like a gender reveal explosion in a pantsuit, blonde bob bouncing, lips pursed like she just sipped kombucha brewed in Elon Musk's hot tub. She strutted in flanked by 2 HR reps and a ring light, her name already echoing across the building. Before she even reached her glass cubicle, Amanda, VP of Transformation. Transformation of what, exactly? No one said. But the break room suddenly had kombucha in the fridge, and the coffee pot was replaced with something called a cold brew tower. Linda just blinked at it like it had asked her for her Netflix password. That organizational reset memo? It was Amanda's debut novel. 4 pages of buzzwords so dense you could pave a driveway with them. Synergistic optimization, agile workflow paradigms, and her personal favorite, phasing out low adaptability risks. She said it with a smile in the first all-hands meeting. Stood there in her Barbie blazer, clicking a PowerPoint with all the confidence of someone who thought Microsoft Excel was an Italian fashion brand. "We want to honor our legacy contributors," Amanda chirped, eyes sweeping over the older staff like a land surveyor eyeing condemned property. "But we're also excited to introduce next-gen talent who can take our brand story viral." Then she turned to Linda, which is why Linda will be mentoring our new brand culture creator. Cue gasps. Cue the sound of Linda's molars grinding into dust. Enter Chase. Age 22, gender fluid, Wi-Fi password tattooed on his collarbone. Showed up wearing Crocs, a ring light slung over one shoulder, and a TikTok account with 40K followers for making dance videos in hospital scrubs. No one knew if he actually worked here or was just squatting in marketing. Amanda beamed at him like he'd cured cancer with a ring filter. It's going to redefine our vibe. Linda nodded, slow and syrupy, happy to help him onboard. She said it like she was volunteering to hold a possum while it got neutered. She pulled out her notebook, asked for Chase's credentials and Amanda's system access sheet. "Oh," Amanda said, blinking like a malfunctioning doll. "We haven't updated that sheet yet." "I'll need full access," Linda said smoothly, "to update the documentation. You know, so Chase isn't flying blind." Amanda hesitated just long enough to reveal that she didn't know what half the systems even were, then mumbled something about trusting the process, and forwarded Linda a link with unrestricted backend permissions. It was like handing the janitor the nuclear launch codes and saying, "Don't touch the red button." Linda went back to her desk, pulled up the server architecture map, and made 3 quiet keystrokes that no one noticed, but would haunt Chase's ring-lit dreams for months. Little script in the training portal now redirected unauthorized uploads to a compliance sandbox. Any viral campaign would hit a brick wall of pending internal review. By 3 p.m., Amanda was filming a welcome reel with Chase and a piñata labeled Old Habits. Linda sipped her now cold coffee and watched them spin in circles, thinking, these two couldn't organize a fart in a bean factory. But she smiled, professional to the end. Because now, it wasn't documenting procedures, she was writing obituaries. It was meatloaf day in the lunchroom, a grim affair even on good weeks, but Linda had her Tupperware packed like always. Leftover chili, Ritz crackers, and a bruised banana she pretended she'd eat. She sat in the back corner under the busted clock that always blinked 12 o'clock like it was stuck in some doomsday loop. That corner gave her a view of the microwave line, and more importantly, a table where Amanda and her neon cult of interns congregated like pigeons around a spilled La Croix. Linda wasn't eavesdropping, not technically. The walls just hadn't been updated since Reagan was in office. She prints stuff, Amanda laughed, unwrapping her kale wrap like it was laced with purpose. Can you imagine? Like physical paper. Dead trees to read onboarding forms. I swear it's like watching a grandma try to Google how to fax a meme. The table exploded with giggles. Chase nearly dropped his acai bowl. Did you see she labeled a folder legacy ops? Like, girl, you are the legacy. Amanda giggled so hard she snorted. I'm just saying, some people can't adapt. We're pivoting to digital storytelling, not carbon copies. Linda didn't move. She didn't breathe. She just sat there, spoon midair, chili cooling on her tongue like wet sandpaper. It taught Amanda how to reset her VPN login just yesterday. Amanda had thanked her with all the warmth of a Google form. Now she was roasting her like day-old cafeteria meatloaf. Linda stood slowly, dumped her tray with a little too much force, and walked back to her desk. She thought about quitting. She really did. Her husband had been telling her for years, "Babe, retire already. Let him drown in their own jargon." And maybe today was the day. Maybe she'd hand in her badge and let Amanda TikTok her way into a lawsuit. But as she passed the copy room, something caught her eye. The shared drive was open on a spare workstation, Amanda's new folder structure. Bright, color-coded, and catastrophically stupid, each department's files were labeled with emojis. Emojis. HR was a handshake. Legal had a balance scale, and finance, a freaking moneybag. Were 4 different folders, all labeled New Hires Fire, with no version numbers, no dates, just vibes and chaos. Linda stared at the screen like she was watching a toddler load a shotgun. One misnamed payroll form in that structure, and someone's direct deposit would end up in Botswana. Compliance flags would go off like fireworks on meth. And better yet, the system's auto-archive script couldn't read emojis. It would fail silently, purging the backups every Friday without so much as a warning. Linda's lip curled. It wasn't quitting time anymore. It was showtime. She jotted a note in her planner under Q3 tasks. Right arrow review emoji-named folders for auto-purge vulnerability. Right arrow begins subtle rearrangement of naming protocols. She closed her notebook gently, like sealing a tomb, then pulled up the old file tree schematic she'd created back in 2004. It still worked, still made sense, still kept the wheels turning, and now it was going to become her scalpel. Amanda had brought glitter and hashtags to a scalpel fight. Linda adjusted her chair, cracked her knuckles, and muttered to herself, "Print this, bitch." It was Wednesday when Kayla, fresh out of community college and still wearing her ID badge on a lanyard like it was a ticket to adulthood, tiptoed to Linda's desk like someone approaching a raccoon with a muffin. He held a printout in her hand like it was radioactive, wide-eyed behind thick glasses that kept sliding down her nose. Miss Linda," she whispered, voice trembling like a junior accountant's during tax season. "Sorry to bug you. It's just I was cross-checking the HR packets, and well, there are two versions of the W-4 form. Same title, same content, except one's from last Thursday, and the other's timestamped 2 hours later with a different footer." Linda didn't look up from her monitor. She kept typing, calm and precise, like she was operating on a spreadsheet's spinal cord. "That's so," Kayla nodded, lips pressed together. "I didn't want to delete anything, but legal said if we submit the wrong one, it could trigger a reclassification error." Linda finally turned, slow and warm like a sunrise over a graveyard. "That's very sharp of you, Kayla." Kayla blushed like a microwave burrito. "Oh, thanks. I just wasn't sure which one to keep." Linda reached over, plucked the printouts from Kayla's hand, and compared them with a glance that could carbon date paper. "You're right. One of these is newer, but not more correct." Kayla blinked. "I don't understand." Linda leaned in, voice soft like bourbon over rocks. "Sometimes, when things move fast, when shiny new systems bulldoze old ones, some files get recreated, rewritten by people who don't know what they're overriding. Which one do I keep?" Linda smiled gently. "Keep both, document everything, and then leave them exactly where they are." Kayla looked confused, so Linda added, with a knowing glance, "Some things are best documented," and left. She turned back to her screen, leaving Kayla marinating in that cryptic wisdom. The girl nodded slowly, scribbled something in her Lisa Frank notebook, wandered off toward the printer with the hesitant shuffle of someone, suddenly aware they might be in the middle of a murder mystery. Linda clicked open the master process document, the sacred blueprint of departmental flow that had survived 5 CEOs, 2 mergers, and 1 office fire. She scrolled to the routing section for supplier requests and inserted a new condition. Just one line of logic, very deep. IF requester type equals external and request flag equals new vendor, then route to equals /archive /deprecated forms /flagged review to the naked eye. It was harmless. A typo. A detour. But in practice, every new vendor chase added under Amanda's flashy partnership push would disappear into a bureaucratic oubliette, where forms go to die in silence and red tape. Linda saved the document, uploaded it with the commit note, minor routing patch for vendor escalation logic. She capped her pen, sipped her cold coffee, and stared at the paperweight on her desk, an old brass nameplate with fading letters. L. Green Operations Administrator. They called her legacy. Fine, let them, because now, she wasn't just the past. She was the trapdoor. Thursday morning, Amanda called Linda into conference room, see like she was inviting her to brunch, not a funeral. The place reeked of fresh expo marker and unearned confidence. Amanda sat perched at the head of the table, legs crossed, smile too big, fingers tapping on a tablet she didn't know how to unlock. "Linda," she began, syrupy sweet, "I just wanted to personally thank you for your incredible service to the company. 30 years is like, wow, that's longer than I've been alive." Linda didn't blink. She just waited. Amanda cleared her throat, dove into her script. "That said, as part of our organizational refresh, your role is being sunsetted. Effective end of day tomorrow." Sunsetted, like she was a burnt-out beach condo. Linda nodded slowly. "Of course. I'd be happy to assist with transition documentation. Wouldn't want anything getting lost." Amanda lit up like she'd invented the term knowledge transfer. "That would be amazing. So thoughtful." Linda stood, shook Amanda's hand, soft, cold, a handshake that said, "I own AirPods and nothing else," turned and left without a word. She didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't throw a stapler through the glass door like Rhonda from payroll did in 09. She went straight to her desk. The afternoon was a blur of typing and quiet taps. She worked with the serenity of someone setting charges in a condemned building. She created a new folder on the internal drive, Legacy Ops Final V3 inside it. She uploaded 30 years of operational gold, training docs, routing schematics, vendor escalation chains, quarterly audit cheat sheets, compliance waiver language templates. All of it clean, complete, and laced with trigger logic. The new employee handbook had a redirect that looped back to a deprecated portal if opened outside company hours. The vendor setup guide required a call to a non-existent extension for final confirmation, unless the user had admin access. And the social media protocol, buried clause halfway through, all public content must be cleared by legacy compliance liaison, a role that no longer existed, except, of course, for Linda's archived profile. She embedded a few phantom footers, set version control traps, and coded her name into a dependency string hidden in a permissions matrix. If someone tried to delete the legacy ops folder entirely, half the finance triggers would default to error mode. She didn't sabotage. She documented. And just before closing time, she sent one last email to IT. "Hi, Steve. Mind leaving my admin access live through the weekend? I've got a few last things to file, and I want to make sure the transition's clean. Appreciate you, L." Green Steve replied 2 minutes later with a thumbs-up emoji and a shrugging gif. Friday would be her last day. But Saturday, that's when the filing would begin to bite. Monday arrived like a hangover wrapped in glitter. Amanda strolled in 15 minutes late with an oat milk latte and a confidence level that could only be described as undeserved. She wore a sweatshirt that said "Disrupt or Die" in Comic Sans and called an emergency culture sink in the break room, where she unironically high-fived Chase mid-dab. Linda's desk sat empty. Her nameplate was gone. Her keyboard wiped clean. All that remained was a faint scent of menthol and printer toner. Amanda clapped her hands like she was leading a cult retreat. "Okay, team, it's a new dawn. New workflows, new energy, new brand voice. Chase, take it away." Chase lit up like a vape pen and launched into a live TikTok shoot right there by the office ficus. "Hey, what's up, fam? It's your boy Chase, and today we're launching our #Vibe rebrand campaign. Drop a fire emoji if you believe in synergy." The caption read, "We're burning the old ways, fire #delete legacy #new era, who dis #compliance can suck it." Legal saw it within 6 minutes. 4 minutes after that, the department's VP called Amanda and left a voicemail that sounded like it was recorded during an exorcism. Meanwhile, Kayla, sweet, observant Kayla, sat frozen at her desk, staring at the invoice routing logs. She noticed something odd. Every time she submitted the new vendor intake form, a duplicate email was sent to compliance review at Corp Internal Net, a ghost account from the legacy system. It wasn't even in the address book anymore. And yet, there it was, silent, watching. She asked Amanda about it. "Is this intentional?" It's like, every request goes to compliance, even ones marked internal. Amanda rolled her eyes and made a little air-typing gesture with her fingers. "Illa, don't worry your pretty little spreadsheet brain. These are just teething pains. We're adapting. Sometimes you gotta break a few eggs to make a frittata, right?" Then she filmed a story saying, "We're cleaning out the old systems. Say goodbye to grandma folders and hello to efficiency. #digital first #oops I legacied." She ended it by mock-blowing a kiss to a framed policy chart Linda had once built from scratch. That afternoon, of the mid-level procurement managers, Frank, the kind of man who wore iron jeans and carried a stress ball, burst into Amanda's office red-faced and sweating. "I can't access the supplier records. The system says I need legacy clearance, whatever the hell that means." Amanda, halfway through recording a boomerang of herself clicking a mouse, didn't look up. "Just have IT override it," they tried. "It's encrypted under an L-green key. It won't respond to admin commands, as we need her token to decrypt." Amanda blinked. Frank leaned in. "Is there something I should know?" Amanda swallowed hard, then faked a laugh. "Ugh, legacy bottlenecks will clear it. I've got this." She didn't got this. All across the server, little pockets of delay began forming like slow-motion sinkholes. Auto routes rerouted. Dashboards misfired. The CRM glitched and misassigned client regions to ghost employees who'd retired before Chase was potty trained. Through it all, Linda remained a ghost in the machine, silent, invisible everywhere. Not haunting them out of revenge, but reminding them what they'd buried too fast. The backbone they dismissed, it had bones, and those bones creaked. Amanda uploaded a crisis reel that night. "We're just leveling up. No worries, guys, got it handled." Nail sparkles meanwhile, Chase filmed a new TikTok. He didn't notice the email alert in the corner. "Content pending compliance review. Distribution halted." The caption was never posted. But somewhere, far from that office, a woman in a soft robe sipped tea on a porch and smiled at a blinking light on her landline. By Tuesday of week 2, the office no longer smelled like ambition. It smelled like panic sweat and burnt toner. The printer made sad mechanical choking noises. The copier displayed cryptic errors like 404, soul not found. And Amanda had stopped filming. Finance was the first to crack. They couldn't reconcile Q2 invoices because half of them were now flagged as pending third-party verification, a system Linda designed for vendor fraud checks. The problem? The trigger required a manual override from a now inactive profile, L Green admin. Every attempt to bypass it sent the form spiraling into a sandbox labeled Do Not Process without cross-signature. HR started fielding calls from confused new hires demanding benefits Linda had deactivated in 2017. Kayla opened the onboarding packet and froze. Buried inside, page 3, was the old dental plan with the provider that went bankrupt 4 years ago. Somehow, the master packet had reverted to a deprecated version stored on a mirrored backup server only Linda had mapped. Amanda called an emergency sync. "It's just some legacy hiccups," she said, smiling like her teeth were rented. "We're adapting. We're agile." Then compliance walked in. Not emailed, not called, walked in. 3 suits. No facial expressions. 1 tablet. They opened with, "We're conducting a formal review of recent social media activity and data handling procedures." Amanda blinked. What campaign? The tablet lit up with Chase's infamous launch video, one where he lip-synced to Megan Thee Stallion next to the mission statement plaque and tagged it #DeleteLegacy. The video never officially posted, but the internal version had been flagged, quarantined, and attached to an anonymous regulatory complaint citing unauthorized promotional representation without audit trail. Chase looked like he'd seen God. Amanda looked like she was God, and he just outsourced her job to HR. Someone in legal said softly, "Never cleared that hashtag. It bypassed content approval protocol." Amanda blurted, "That protocol doesn't even exist anymore." Kayla, poor, doomed Kayla, raised her hand. "Technically, it does. It's still in the legacy process map." Linda marked it as inactive but protected. Silence dropped like a cinder block into a kiddie pool. Then, in procurement, a VP named Ron finally got tired of searching through shared drives and pulled up his ancient inbox archive. He typed green into the search bar and blinked at the flood of results. One subject line jumped out: "Continuity safeguards for future operational reorgs, sent 2 years ago." Buried in a folder labeled planning/if they're stupid enough. He opened it. Inside was a calm, eerily polite note from Linda outlining a list of legacy-dependent systems and triggers, including this line: "Per Clause 9b of our compliance standards, a reorg that bypasses legacy data review must engage retrieval protocol via designated credentialed party." Ron printed it, walked into Amanda's office, dropped it on her desk. "What the hell is this?" Amanda stared at it like it was written in Sumerian. "Clause what?" Ron didn't answer. He just pointed at the line at the bottom of the email. "Credentialed party, L. Green, retired, the walls were closing in." The system was eating itself one overdue update at a time. Data loops, access denials, ghost alerts. And out there, past the server firewalls and compliance flags, the only person who could make it stop was drinking sweet tea and feeding squirrels like it was just another Tuesday. The boardroom looked like a crime scene. Someone had drawn the blinds. The conference table was littered with printouts, color-coded spreadsheets, and legal pads bleeding red ink. Single half-eaten, everything bagel sat sweating on a napkin beside a legal binder, titled Operational Anomalies. Q2, Q3. Amanda strutted in late, latte in hand, like she was walking into a spa consultation. She didn't notice the CFO's twitching eye or the way the head of IT was already rolling up his sleeves like he was about to perform CPR on the network. "Let's keep this brief," she chirped, flipping open her tablet. The CEO didn't smile. He just gestured to the whiteboard, covered in cascading arrows, server logs, and the word looped written in all caps and underlined 5 times. Finance started. "We've got over 200 vendor payments caught in recursive verification loops tied to legacy escalation chains. They're asking us why we're ghosting them." IT jumped in. "Onboarding system still tries to authenticate against a decommissioned LDAP server Linda set up in 06. It reactivates weekly and resets token access, unless manually overridden." Legal followed. "Your social media campaign broke 3 compliance clauses. You posted without clearance, didn't file internal review, and used language that implied we've deleted federally regulated training records." Amanda blinked. "Okay, look. This isn't my fault. Inherited messy documentation. I was told to trust the existing structure." The head of legal dropped a file in front of her. Her signature. Time-stamped approvals on every process Linda flagged. You signed off on these. You said legacy review was irrelevant moving forward. Amanda opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Well, maybe Linda didn't properly retire her access. Maybe she left traps, the CEO interrupted. Traps or structure, because as far as we can tell, this structure held together your department while you were out making ring light propaganda. She froze. That's when Kayla, sitting 2 chairs down and practically vibrating with moral constipation, quietly tapped her laptop. She pulled up an email, forwarded it to the board. Subject line, exit folder review, urgent a notification pinged on the CEO's screen. He clicked it, read silently, projected it on the screen for the whole room to see. It was Linda's final memo. To whom it may concern, as part of my departure, I've compiled critical process documentation and routing information into a final archive folder titled Legacy Ops. Please note the following. Certain systems contain embedded dependency triggers requiring legacy authentication or continuity clearance. Compliance and audit routing remain tied to historical protocols to ensure consistency and security. Social and public-facing content is still governed by Clause 14C under Legacy Brand Stewardship. Do not remove or modify without full audit of nested triggers. Continuity Protocol. See attached list of necessary legacy contacts. Credentialed Primary. L. Green retired, Amanda's face drained of color like someone had pulled the plug on her skincare routine. That wasn't shared with me. No one forwarded. The CEO turned to Kayla. Who received this? Kayla, suddenly very composed, replied, everyone on the management list. It was in the shared drive, too. Labeled final use this one or we die PDF. Silence. Amanda opened her mouth again. The CEO raised a hand. Don't. Outside the glass walls, employees pretended not to watch. Chase stood frozen by the copier, holding a branded fidget spinner and mouthing the words, "Oh my God." Inside the room, the verdict had already landed like a slow-motion meteor. Amanda had deleted the old safety nets, laughed at the ropes holding the circus tent up, and now she was buried in elephants. The CEO leaned forward. We need to contact Linda Green. Sun was just high enough to hit the porch swing when the landline rang. Linda sat with her feet up, wrapped in a faded pink robe that used to belong to her mother, sipping sweet tea that had steeped so long it could strip paint. A squirrel watched her from the railing like it was waiting for a TED talk on vengeance. She let the phone ring twice, then 3 times, then answered. "Hello," she said, voice like warm molasses with a lit match under it. "This is Linda speaking." A pause, and a voicemail, polished, jittery beneath the calm. "Miss Green, this is Charles Bannerman, board chair." Linda leaned back. "You found the files, huh?" Another pause, longer this time. "We did," he said. "We understand now that several of our compliance workflows were structured around your credentials. The current team seems unable to resolve the issues without my brain, my keys, or my hands." Linda finished for him. "You're not the first man to come to that conclusion. A little too late, Charles." She sipped her tea, listened to him stumble over pleasantries. He tried to slide into a pitch, temporary consulting arrangement, high-value retention knowledge, corporate continuity optimization. Linda just watched the breeze sway the curtain in her kitchen window. "How much?" he finally asked. "Well," she said, stretching the word like taffy, "considering I watched your VP of Transformation publicly announce the deletion of a system that handles your audit trail, we'll start at $300 an hour." Dead silence. "And I want Chase off social media until he learns what GDPR means." "Done." Oh, and Kayla, sweet kid, promoted. If she wants mentoring, she gets it. Otherwise, she'll leave in 6 months and you'll deserve it. "Yes, absolutely. She's already asked, actually." She forwarded your memo. Said it read like scripture. Linda chuckled. She's got good instincts. On the other end, Charles cleared his throat. "Do you have time to start this week?" Linda stood slowly, pulled on her slippers, and glanced at the calendar. Just below the sunset party doodle on Friday, she'd written, "Watch it all crumble." "Tell legal to send the paperwork," she said, "but I'll be working remotely. I've earned my porch time, of course." "Thank you, Miss Green." She hung up. Inside, answering machine blinked with 2 more messages. One from HR, trying to sound upbeat. The other, "Kayla, Miss Linda, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I think they're scared of you. And honestly, I'm proud to learn from you." Linda smiled, not wide, not smug, just enough, because this wasn't a comeback. It was a coronation. They sunsetted her, and she rose. There's something deeply satisfying about watching quiet competence outlast fake charisma. This story reminds me why you never disrespect the people who know where the wires are buried, especially in an office. Linda didn't raise her voice. She just raised the stakes. Appreciate you sticking around, you wise old rebels. Smash that subscribe button, or this fossil might just cause another epic fiasco.